targets. You guys have been pouring over the list. Who are you looking at with great interest as this day moves along?
I'm going up north to Edmonton. I think Patty Maroon provides a lot of value, and he's had a really consistent season. And what's been a down year for the Oilers, no question about it. They've underperformed. Everybody knows that. But Patty Maroon, I've loved him since his time in Anaheim. He's a value piece. He's a big body player that plays a big game inside the dots, and more importantly, in front of the opposition's net. He's not going to overwhelm you with his speed. Yes, this is a speed game, but it also is a game of scoring. He has some touch. He has some hands. He's well-liked and respected by his teammates. And when I talk value, comparatively to Rick Nash, who I've known since growing up in Toronto, he was a fellow Toronto Red Wing, Rick Nash. He's had a tremendous NHL career. But at this point, I got to give Jeff Gordon a lot of credit because he was able to get a lot in return, maximize the return for Rick Nash. Now, this is not something people, when you mention these two players, and I'm not suggesting Patty Maroon is Rick Nash by any stretch. There's a versatility factor to Rick Nash. He can play all forward positions, every situation. But in Patty Maroon, if I'm a buyer and I'm looking at that, my cost of acquisition and acquiring Patty Maroon right now, if I'm a GM, I got to like what I'm looking at there. I think that there's some value, and I like that size and the presence and his touch in and around the net.
Well, I'm going to go right through the Lincoln Tunnel over to New York and take a look at a guy like Ryan McDonagh. To me, this is the premier guy that's left on the market. On this particular list, do I think he's the next guy that's going to get moved? On that list that we showed originally, yes, I do. Why? Because a lot of the other guys like Patty Maroon, for me, they're plug and play. Just hit the go button. You know already, you've gone through, you've done your research, you know what your offers are, you're trying to increase them. Ryan McDonagh, on the other hand, is one that is just going to happen, in my opinion, if it happens between 11 and 1. Don't want to go too much longer than that, you get nervous, but there's a number of teams that could do it. When you think about 4.7 as his cap hit, and then the ability for the New York Rangers, who have been, I think, pretty open in all the teams I've talked to in terms of willingness to retain salary, you're talking about $2.35 million in cap hit. There's a lot of teams that could do that are very serious about him this morning. The Rangers are sharpening their pencils. They're trying to fine-tune those offers. We'll see if it gets done.
Lutz, you're talking about a D. Most people, when they hear about the trade deadline and they're thinking about a D, are thinking about the guy with 2 Norris trophies in Ottawa, Erik Karlsson. Why McDonagh instead of Karlsson?
I have heard many more teams discussing Ryan McDonagh as a potential for their team, solely on the basis that a lot of people weren't necessarily crazy about some of the comments that Erik Karlsson had. I think that's hurt him a little bit on the market. A lot of people have been in to see him lately, particularly the last 5 to 10 games. The word back on Erik Karlsson is the foot is fine, but a lot of people have commented about it's going to take a little bit to jolt his game back. Some nights he's terrific. It's almost shift to shift. You see that same explosiveness that we've seen. I haven't heard any comments about potential lingering injury from last year. People say he's back. It just may be a little bit of an attitude adjustment. It's been a rough year in Ottawa for Karlsson, for that team. I think that he's hurt himself just a little bit, though, on the market. For a player that's as great as he is, boy, it's been tough to hear that. I don't personally, I wouldn't be as concerned with it. Erik Karlsson is a tremendous guy and a tremendous player, but it's definitely taken a little bite out of his stock.
Yeah, no question about that. I've heard the same thing. The thing that I like about McDonagh, if I'm another potential GM, is the cost. It's the cost and the value ratio for me. If I'm going to get a number 1 defenseman, number 2, depending on your team, that's going to play those minutes, that's going to be that dependable, that's going to be that professional, and I'm looking at teams that have cap space to make it happen, especially what's required for the remainder of this season, prorated. I really like that.
Keep this in mind, Weeksy. Everybody's talking about McDonagh, Karlsson. You can always just wait. There's no guarantee that those offers will be better at the draft. Now, you could make a case, oh, we'll have more teams involved. Maybe, but there's no guarantee that those offers are going to be any better. I think the Ottawa Senators know that. I think the New York Rangers know that. They're going to push to the hilt to get it done today.
My one worry about the Rangers, though, is moving McDonagh. And I know there's some thought within the organization that there's some various opinions, let's just put it that way, in terms of people that want him, people that are open to moving him or exploring the possibility of moving him. You got to proceed with caution. It's difficult to get a defenseman like that at that number. That's a cheap price, relatively speaking, for your number 1 D. at 4.75, those guys are hard to find.
And he wears the C. We all go back to
Exactly.
Gretzky, and that was the lesson learned by everyone. Anybody can be traded, even Gretzky wearing the C. We're talking about two guys in Karlsson, even though he's not currently talking with the media, which most captains do. Both those guys wear the C. That's kind of a statement about where we're at in the world of the NHL now.
Yeah, it really is. In Erik Karlsson's case, I mean, come on, he's been the team. Their playoff run was pretty much on his backs last year. It's going to be tough if these guys get moved.